Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Odyssey, the podcast where we sit down with founders, operators, and builders to explore the real, unfiltered journey of creating something from the ground up. I'm your host, Jensina, and today's guest has one of those career stories that genuinely makes you stop in your tracks. She grew up inside her father's entrepreneurial business, spending over a decade helping scaling it from local operation to an international one. She then spent 13 years at Walt Disney World and 2 years at Universal Orlando Resorts, developing some of the most sophisticated sales and marketing strategies in the world. And then COVID hit. And unfortunately, or fortunately, she got laid off, as happens to many. And instead of waiting for the world to reopen, went in all on her own vision. She runs Purple Ivy Digital Marketing, a boutique agency that helps entrepreneurs and small to mid-sized businesses build holistic marketing strategies that actually drive revenue, not just vanity metrics. Jensina Graydon, welcome to the Entrepreneur Odyssey. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I'm going to dig right into the questions.
Sure.
So I'm going to start with your father's business where you spent over a decade and took it internationally. What did those years actually teach about marketing that that you've taken into your own business?
That's a really great question. It's funny because when you have a family-run business, you employ everybody that's around you. So I actually had a graphic design background. I went to a technical high school. So he needed help getting some things designed, and that's how it started, really building marketing materials and content. Although, that's not what it was called back then. It was called, sales slicks or I need an information brochure, things like that. So that's how we started. And then, I really started seeing a lot of opportunities between the family, me, my father, my mother, and my brother. We all had different roles, and I seemed to fall into the marketing and sales role. So it really gave me an eye-opening experience as to like wearing a lot of hats, really diving in and learning marketing, having to learn from the ground up, kind of bootstrapping it, finding the information on my own, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't. There was a lot of, testing, seeing trial and error between everything. But, as time went on, my skills got sharper and we were able to go from a pretty regional type of company to a more international company with clients all over the world. And over those 10 years, I grew from, just doing designing to really leading the sales and marketing side of operations. So that's really where I found the love of marketing and, how it can really move the needle and impact people and lives of these small businesses.
Nice. And I probably should have asked you this first. Could you briefly tell us what that business was? What was the what was the business doing?
Yeah, we had it was a business that worked with seafood processors and in the seafood industry. We were a
Okay.
distributor for I, I say chemical product, but it was a more natural version of the
Okay.
chemicals that they use to clean and to keep everything sanitary. So
Mm.
it was a pretty niche industry
Yeah.
because we worked with seafood, as I said, seafood processors, fishermen, and it was also a very male-dominated industry. And I say that to say that I really needed to know what I was talking about to be taken
Mhm.
seriously, especially back then as a young woman.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think many female leaders and entrepreneurs would have faced that challenge throughout their career.
Mhm.
So, what pulled you away from the family business and towards Disney?
So we had hit a recession and there was less demand for our product because budgets were
Right.
tight. We had a more high-end product, so sales started dropping. And then there was also another personal circumstance that I really needed to handle, so I decided to step away from the business and then go towards corporate. And it's funny because I really didn't intend to be in corporate very long. In my mind, I
Hmm.
was like, I'll just be here a year and then I'm just going to move on and I'll go on to my next thing. Because I had really been, all the businesses I had worked in had been small businesses at that point. So this was really my first foray into corporate, like with a very big company. Um, and I ended up staying there 13 years.
Wow. Well, you must have enjoyed it, or at least got something out of it to stay that long.
Definitely.
And what does marketing at Disney's scale actually look like day to day?
So it's really interesting when you look at a large corporation. Disney is a Fortune 50, as is, Universal, especially in
Mhm.
the entertainment industry. And there are actually similarities and there's lessons to be learned and take from corporate. One of the big things is, the roles are very focused. So
Mm.
I had a strategy role, but I had people that would execute. So you had a social media team, you had a team that did paid ads, you had a team that would, take that strategy and put it into their own channels. It took a lot of communication to make sure that you were aligned on all those different strategies. But then, it's interesting because there were times when it's very much like a small business where they would come to us and say, "Hey, we don't have the budget this year, so you're going to have to figure out the marketing on your own and how you're going to do
Mhm.
this and bootstrap it and
Oh,
make
wow.
sure that you're doing this." Especially, with being a tourist type of industry, it's
Mm.
very susceptible to the ebb and flow of recessions and,
Yes.
downturns and upturns. So there were times where it was just like, we don't have the budget for that. We have to divert your budget to another initiative
Right.
that we know is going to drive more. So you're still
Mhm.
responsible for your KPIs. It's
Yes.
not like the KPIs go away.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you would have to figure out how to do that. So I think those are some of the differences and the things that really I noticed within the corporate structure. And I know you said, within what my day to day was like, and that was the other thing. You really didn't have a rinse and repeat day. It was always
Mm.
something new. The other thing that was a difference was the way we prepared ahead of time. I joke that there was one day where I did all four seasons in one day. I had meetings for Halloween, I had meetings for Christmas, I had meetings for spring, and I had meetings for summer. So we went through it all in one day, but it
Yeah.
shows that we really were keeping the pulse of all our
Mhm.
initiatives and all our campaigns, and we were really planning ahead.
Yeah.
So that's one lesson that I really took because when I was with my father's business, we would plan ahead, but not like that. And a lot of times
Mm.
I know we felt like we were maybe behind the wheel, like, oh, sales dropped.
Yeah.
What caused that? And so it was more reactive than proactive. Not to say that that doesn't happen in corporate. COVID really showed us that.
Yes. Yes.
So you do
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to be nimble, but when you have that long-term plan, it allows for long-term success. And that's one of the things that I've really taken
Mm.
into my business now is to make sure that I'm thinking ahead long term. I'm planning for next year. I have my goals and how are we achieving those goals? Are we not achieving those goals? What do we have to do to
Yeah.
drive that and really making sure I'm keeping an eye over everything overall.
Right, amazing. I mean, and having worked with marketers for many, many years, unfortunately, I know all too well that it's always the marketing budget that
Yeah,
gets kind of pulled before any other team.
always.
Yeah. So I hear your challenge there. And you touched on COVID, and actually COVID forced your hand in some ways. Unfortunately, I guess tourism was closed, as was many other industries for a while,
Mhm.
and unfortunately you got laid off. And then Purple Ivy suddenly had to become your main business. Can you take us back to that moment? What made you really take the plunge into starting your own business, aside from being kind of made
Mhm.
to, but I guess not applying for other roles and things like that?
Right. No, that's a good question. One of the main things was, obviously where I live, it's in Orlando, Florida, and it's tourism heavy. So things here came to a screeching halt, as they did everywhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like especially here, there's just so many within the same industry that the market was flooded with people that were looking for jobs. And, as I was going through the wanted sections and Indeed and things like that, I found that it was a lot of small businesses. And when I was at Disney, I was doing strategy work. I didn't know how to run paid ads. I didn't know how to, write content. I had copywriters, I had designers, we had, a creative agency we worked with. But these were the things that small businesses wanted you to learn. And so as I was trying to gain that skill set and learn all those different things and going back to remembering my days with my father when I had to learn all those things on my own as well.
Yeah.
I kind of came to a realization that I could actually make a business of this. I'm learning it for myself.
Yeah.
Why not work for myself and make a business of this and help other small businesses with their marketing? So then I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. In retrospect, I thought the process was, I did it with my dad. How hard could it be?
Right.
And so not realizing he had laid all the groundwork and then brought me in afterwards. So he had gone
Right.
through all the hard work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a wake-up call for me.
Yes.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Imagine.
it can be hard because it's
Yeah.
not easy, right?"
No, no. I think any of us who are going through it knows how challenging it can be,
Mhm.
especially at the start. Especially at
Yeah,
the start, because like you say, it's laying the foundations. It's getting your brand out
yeah,
there. It's getting your first few clients through the door. But you've been doing it for a little while now.
yeah, yeah.
So you described during our sort of pre-call, you described um, having to make a critical shift, and that was moving from being the runner of your business to being the owner of your business. For founders who are stuck deep in the weeds, what does that transition look like?
I think there's a couple of things that you have to look at or should be looking at when you want to make that shift. I know one of the first mistakes I had made was, and this is something you don't think of when you first start, because when you're first starting, you are like, okay, I need to pay my bills. I need to get the money in as quickly as
Mm,
possible. And that's exactly what I did. So I didn't look at my pricing of my services for growth, because you need to have that pricing for growth. Another thing that I had to look at was really analyze what my time was worth, because I was doing everything at one point. And I'm not good at everything. Nobody's good at everything.
right,
So
exactly.
looking at, okay, is it going to be more cost effective to take this task and give it to somebody else who can do it faster and better than me struggling through it and wasting my time, where my time would be more valuable and better served over here?
Hmm.
And it always stuck with me. Richard Branson has always said that one of the things that made him successful was he got talented people around him who could do what he couldn't do, and
Right,
he let them do what they needed to do.
right.
So taking that shift and saying, okay, I can't do everything. Let me find people who know how to do this and have them do it so that I can have my time better served doing what I do best
Hmm.
and doing what I love, which is strategy work. So that was one of the key things that I had to really shift my thinking about, like, how much is my time worth?
Right.
And am I using it effectively and efficiently?
Yeah, no, great, great, great advice. And like you say, I think we all get sort of in the weeds of trying to do everything,
Mhm.
especially when you've not got much coming in. You're like, well, I don't want to spend money on agencies. I don't want to
Yep.
spend money, until I can see a bit more return. But actually, if you take a step back and
Mhm.
think, what do in order to get my name out there, perhaps I do need to outsource my social media or my
Yep.
marketing or whatever
Right.
the case may be. Yeah, great advice.
Yeah.
And so for solo businesses out there, there's a real tension between doing great client work and finding time to grow. How are you solving that right now for Purple Ivy?
That I am doing that. That's a challenge. I feel like that is the constant challenge of every business. It's so funny because I always say, I'm into digital marketing. So when I give them my business card, I'm like, they'll be like, "Oh, I'll follow you on Instagram." I'm like, "Please don't do that. My Instagram is like so horrible. My website probably needs help."
Yeah.
And it's that challenge because I'm still helping my clients, and I'm
Right.
in deep helping my clients, but I need to focus on my business as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've done is I have set aside a day that I dedicate to working on my business. I've realized that if I don't work on my business, number one, I'm not going to keep the funnel full. I need to keep that funnel full because you'd go through clients not maybe because you're doing bad work or things just happen. Maybe they bring a marketing team in house and they can take
Mm,
that work on, but there's a myriad of things. I must say, I've been super blessed to have my clients long term. I've worked with them for years.
great.
And so I don't have a lot of turnover, but I did look at things and I was like, I can't be comfortable. So
Mm,
one of my things for this year was to get uncomfortable and, really
yeah.
go after the things that make me uncomfortable, which one of them is networking. That's a part of, yeah. But that's a part of what helps your business grow. Just making sure, like, even if it is uncomfortable, or even if you feel like I don't have time for this, I've got to be fulfilling my clients' work,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I've got to be doing the thing that I love doing. You have to carve out that time for your business.
Mm,
Otherwise, you're always chasing. You have that feast or famine type of business model, and nobody wants that because that's more
right.
stressful than anything.
Yeah. No, again, great advice.
Yeah.
I'm going to shift tactics a little bit and
Mhm.
talk about AI. During our pre call, you said non marketers are using AI to produce plans that look great but are missing the nuance. How is that changing the competitive landscape for agencies like yourselves?
That is, yeah, we did touch on that, and it's something that marketers, I feel, are really diving deep into. I know me, myself, and several of my colleagues that I've talked to, we have a very love-hate relationship with AI. We love it because it does make our job go faster.
Right.
We also hate it because, I've had people say to me, ChatGPT can do exactly what you're doing. So why should I
Mhm.
pay you for what you do when ChatGPT can do it? The challenge is that using AI makes things that would take, you know, couple of days before, I can run through it in an afternoon. I can really use it and leverage it for brainstorming, generating ideas. The challenge with AI is that it's as great as it is, and as far as it's come, it still is a regurgitation of everything that's out there. It's not coming up with original ideas. So I think that that's the other challenge in, when I get that question of like, hey, ChatGPT can do what you do, it's not going to come up with new ideas. It's not going to show you how to stand out. It's not going to, really, it can help you. It's a great
Mhm.
tool, but it's not
Yeah.
at that point where it can do absolutely everything for you. And I think that that is the main difference between, using AI really well and then just using it as a crutch.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And that's what I tell my clients as well, right? Chat GPT is a tool, right?
Yeah.
Just like any other, home kitchen appliance, right? Like a chopper.
Yep.
You used to use a knife and now a lot of us use choppers, right?
Mhm.
It's a tool to help aid you in producing what you want
Yeah.
to produce.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing. You still need that human intervention, the human knowledge
Yeah.
to go with it, and your expertise,
And I love that
I
example
guess.
that you just used, how it's like a tool that you would use in your kitchen. A knife in my hands is not going to create the same type of food that a knife in a chef's hands would create, right?
Right.
And you still need to learn AI. Like, there's a huge learning curve there.
Yeah.
So, there's companies that are going and they're using it for their whole marketing strategy, but they don't
Mm,
have the knowledge to create a really great marketing strategy, or they may not have the knowledge from the marketing side as to what does create a great marketing strategy. So, there's those challenges of it's really great to use and it makes life so much easier, but it's that thing of, crap in, crap out. That
Yeah.
it's going to really determine how good that output is going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. So, as you scale Purple Ivy, as you said, you want to get uncomfortable this year, and hopefully that
Mhm.
uncomfortableness drives scale. Um, as you bring on more clients without sacrificing quality, where do you feel AI can fit in to help you grow?
That's a really great question. Um, and that's something that I've been really actually looking at lately. I feel that there's a lot of smaller tasks and repetitive tasks within
Hmm.
any company, whatever
Yes,
company it is,
for sure.
that AI can really help you with. AI can help you with call automation, getting those FAQs out of the way,
Mhm.
using them on a website to answer those initial questions. So many industries, you hear the same question over and over and over again. So having somebody do that so it's not taking your time. I think
Mhm.
it's also, looking at that question again of what is my time worth?
Yeah.
Because I could be doing a lot of day-to-day tasks within my agency that take a lot of time, that are repetitive, that I
Mhm.
can now delegate to AI and have AI do that. So now I can focus my time to something else that's going to be more productive and create a higher ROI.
Yeah. No, yeah, great, great response there. Okay, let's sort of give some of our listeners a bit more advice,
Mhm.
but when it comes to sort of earlier on in the journey. So, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice when you first started your business, what would that be?
That let me think about
Yeah,
that for a
have a
minute.
think about that. It's a layered question.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting because I'll go back to my history and then I'll answer this.
Sure.
After COVID and I started this company, things got hard. Was not, as I said, I was not prepared for, I thought it was going to be easy. I
Mm.
knew there was going to be challenges, but I thought I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't. So at one point I was like, you know what? I think I just want to keep this as a side hustle and go back to corporate. And that way, it'll be a little bit easier for me. And so that's when I went to Universal for 2 years. About a year in when I was at Universal, I was like, "You know what? I really want to go back to moving the needle for small to medium-sized businesses as opposed to big corporations, because you can really see the effect of the work that you're doing. Not that you couldn't before, but you were pretty removed from it.
Yeah.
It's difficult within a corporation of tens of thousands of employees to say, I had a direct effect on the increase in revenue over last quarter.
Mhm.
There's so many people doing that. But when
Yeah.
I'm working with a business, I can say this drove that needle. So sat on that question of like, why was I not as successful as I wanted to be? And how can I fix that so that I'm successful when I leave my corporate job? And
Mm.
one of the biggest things that I realized was my mindset and how much that played into number one, success, peace, and longevity in a business.
Yeah.
I feel like we live in a time, especially with social media, where you see everybody's either selling or getting rich quick. You know,
Right.
I scaled my business to 1 million in 6 months, and I'm going to show you how to do it too.
Yeah.
And so you can feel like if you're not on that timeline, why am I not as successful as everybody else? And what am I
Mm.
doing that's not working? So I realized number one, don't compare myself to others. I'm on my own journey. As
Yeah.
long as I'm paying my bills, that's all that matters.
Great advice.
Number two, the other thing I realized was that everybody is has their own zone of genius. You can't compare
Mhm.
yourself to other people. Yes, you're going to be one of a million plumbers, but there's something that you do that's special that will draw your own clients to you and you will
Mhm.
resonate with them. And being okay with that has been a great source of peace for me because I know my people will find me. I know that if I want to grow a great business, I can do that. But if I want to keep it small and keep a boutique agency, I can do that too and be as successful in both of those roles.
Right.
So I think that was a really big eye opener for me. And then the last one, which I know so many entrepreneurs struggle with, is imposter syndrome. Trying to
Mm.
get over that and working through that. It's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Or do I as good as they are? Or even, am I doing the best? And I feel like, especially for entrepreneurs, we feel that. And I don't know if you can relate to this because we are so passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
We have decided to start a business in what we love. Whether you're a
Right.
baker, whether you are fixing garage doors, whether
Mm.
you're cutting hair or doing tattoos, it doesn't matter. You're
Yeah.
doing what you love.
Yeah.
And so we feel very personal and very guarded about that. And
Yes.
it's so easy to feel like, "Oh, I'm not doing my best," but you are doing
Mm.
your best. And I always joke, there's somebody out there that's making $1 million that's not even half as bright as you are. So,
True. So true. But what you said there has hugely resonated with me, and I'm sure will with our viewers as well. What helped you with the mindset piece? Because that's, I speak to
yeah,
so many entrepreneurs, and especially at the beginning of the journey, mindset, you're believing in yourself. That I
yeah.
think is part of the reason why many entrepreneurs just don't make it past the first year.
It's so true. I agree
Yeah.
with you
Yeah.
100%. And I did a lot of reflective thinking on the year and a half that I had my business and then went back to corporate. And it really came down to my mindset. That was the one big thing. And, I'm a Gen Xer. We were not raised going to therapy, but
Mm.
I made the conscious decision. I was like, if I'm going to be successful, I have some things I need to talk about, some things I need to work through
Mm.
so that I don't have that self-sabotage, that mental self-sabotage. And, honestly, it's really helped. I have a mentor, and she was the one. I remember her saying that she went to therapy, and I was like, I'm going to give this a try. And it really worked.
Mm.
Also, being super honest with yourself as to what your limitations are, where your weaknesses are, and the different things that might trigger you into negative mindset or self-doubt mindset
Mm.
really helped. Throughout that my journey, I discovered that, I have ADHD, and that was one of the things that was really inhibiting me. So learning how to manage that and learning
Right.
techniques that, helped me lean into the assets of having ADHD has
Right.
really helped me be more successful this time than I was previously, and also be more efficient and effective with the work that I do. So I think that's one of the really things because I really had to have a come to Jesus with myself
Yeah.
before I went on a second time to do this
Mm.
full time because I've always been a hustler. I've always had a couple of jobs. When I got into corporate, I stopped that. So not having that backup to a backup, I was like, I've got to make this work. And
Yeah.
so I really had to
Mm.
have that honest discussion with myself and
Great advice.
be,
Mm.
proactive about the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Gosh, I can speak to you for hours. But I've got to ask you one last question.
Sure.
So obviously you had mentioned, you're wanting to get uncomfortable this year. What do you mean by that? So, and what I mean, and I guess the question's also folded in is what do you hope the next 12 to 18 months look like?
Right. As I mentioned, I've had a lot of my clients long term. So I was looking at things at the end of the year. I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. But I do believe in intentions for the new year. Like what do I want to improve this year? What's something I want to carry into the next year? That's when I decided on being uncomfortable because I really was in a place where I could just sit and be content with my clients. I love them. They're amazing. I'm at a point where, I'm making money. I've got a little team and things are good. But I wanted to, number one, grow. I want to grow my company within the next year and a half. The goal is to double it. I also realized that I got comfortable being in my own little cocoon because I think with entrepreneurship, it's super easy to be isolated and just
Mm.
one day look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't talk to another person besides my team or clients in like 3 months. So so doing more networking and going to meet people, getting more involved in the community in a proactive way as opposed to a reactive way. Those are the things that I feel will make me uncomfortable. And really taking myself out of the business. My goal is to take myself out of the execution and have faith in the people I'm delegating it to and
Right.
get more into running my business as opposed to a solopreneur, because that it's
Right.
easy to have a business and
Yeah.
still operate it like a solopreneur, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really, really great advice, Justina. And like I said, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. And you know what? I would love to have you back on the podcast. Many of us that are new founders and listening to the podcast will hopefully want the same thing. So it'd be great to.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be amazing. I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. It's been such a pleasure. This has been so much fun.
It's been so much fun having you on, and I'm sure our listeners have felt the same. It's been genuinely insightful. And, you know, there's so many nuggets that landed with me, but I think the biggest one that you said was moving from being the runner of your business to being the owner of your business. I think that's a shift that many of us solopreneurs I struggle with. So just what in fact, if clients want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. For a marketer, sometimes I don't market myself very well.
Well, that's what I'm here to help you do.
So the cobbler's children have no shoes, right? So the best way to get in touch with me is through either my social media, Purple Ivy Digital Marketing on Instagram, or even Jensina Graydon on LinkedIn. I also have my website, purpleivydigitalmarketing.com.
Amazing, amazing. And I'd encourage anyone that's listening that needs help with their marketing. I mean, you've heard Justina has worked for some of the biggest corporations out there, and she's been running a successful business for many, many years. So you'll be in very safe hands. And of
Thank
course,
you.
thank you to our listeners. And if you want to learn more about Justina Purple Ivy Marketing, do visit her website, as she's just mentioned. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, please do follow and subscribe so you don't miss any other episodes. Thank you again, Justina, for being on.
Thank you. It'll be wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.